Okay, this demo is bringing together assignments 7 and 8 to finish off a poster design. So here's our spot illustration from assignment 7. And when we look at our layers, this is how we wanted to have it set up. We have a smart layer here, which means that it won't allow me to paint on it, but it's a smart layer that has a vector attached to it, and that vector is infinitely scalable. So I can make it any resolution I need. So that's a great way to have your black lines to color behind. Underneath that, I have a drop shadow of white. I have duotone soft color. I have cut edge clean duotone, and then I have my flat local color. And then on top of the blacks that you see here, I have my color holds. Anything that replaces the black vector and kind of makes for glowing effects set on top of it, those are going to be our color holds. So I have the red jewel there with some effects and outer glow, and I have the blue jewel there. Now I need to give a little bit more room for this because it's no longer just a sticker or a spot illustration. It's going to be the center of a poster. So I'm going to grow my canvas size, make it quite a bit bigger. Let's try 24 inches wide by 36 inches tall. It's a pretty standard poster size. Command 0 to keep everything in the middle. This is more space than I probably need, but it will allow me to crop down. And the resolution is still very high. We want print resolution around 350. And now what I'm going to do is I created, as part of assignment 8, a font solution in Illustrator that I have saved here as an EPS. If I view it in preview, it shows me it, and it's infinitely scalable because it is a font and a vector. So no matter how much I zoom in, you won't see pixels. And I want to keep that quality, just like my line work. I want to keep it as a smart layer in Photoshop. The only way to do that is to click on it and drag and drop it into Photoshop, and then to place it. So I can have to place my smart layer before I can do anything else. I'm going to hold down Shift and Option to kind of grow it on each side. I can move it around, and I can always change its placement after. But something like that is what I was thinking. And now, no matter where I place it, no matter how I scale it, because I can always hit Command T and I can mess with its proportions, I can rotate it, but it will always render based on the vector shapes, so it will always be really clean. Maybe I will play with slightly tilting it. And if you right click, you can even do things like skewing it slightly. Maybe so it doesn't look so perfect. Having it lilt a little bit to one side or the other, almost making it italicized. But other options you don't have are distort, perspective, and warp, because it is still a vector. And to get those options, we'd have to rasterize it, but we don't want to do that. Just going to scale it a little bit bigger. And actually, I don't mind that Festival is going to overlap the top of the skull a little bit, because I think the top of the skull is a little too high. So let's see if we can make this work. So now it's rendering in the available resolution, using the vector to inform it, so that it's perfectly clean within that resolution. All right, so that's now, just like my black line layer, it's a smart layer, which you can tell because the layer preview window here looks a little different. It has that black box in it. It also means you can't color it or replace it. But you can add effects to it. So I can also double click on this and I can actually give it a color overlay if I want. Maybe make it kind of a rusty red. And I can give it a gradient overlay if I want, which might look nice. And I can decide here in the effects, the layer styles, how strong I want that gradient to be. So I want it to be fairly subtle. I can even angle the gradient. That's kind of nice. And then I might want to give everything a stroke. And I can choose the color. So right now it's a black stroke. It's this thin outline of black around everything. Making my computer work kind of hard, so it's running a little behind here. Come on. So you can see that black outline. If I want to make it thicker, I can. That might help a little bit. See how it looks on the bottom? Yeah, it's still nicely readable. And if I want to change the color, of course I can. I can even steal colors from my illustration. Which isn't a bad idea. And then I can play with the opacity of that stroke. So we'll blend in with whatever background I choose. You can also position your stroke inside your text, in the center of your text, on the outside of your text. And I think what looked best for this was the center. Let's make sure it looks good at the top. Yep, that looks pretty clean. And I can always toggle those effects on and off as I see fit. So it's a nice, easy way to play with your elements, even keeping them as a smart layer, as a vector. Now, how does that look with a gray background? Let's increase our size on these backgrounds, because this is going to show us the whites we have as well. So that's kind of the size I'm thinking of for the poster. And now I might think, well, let's make a copy of that text. Command J, duplicate it. Actually, that's the wrong one. Here we go. This stuff. Command J, duplicate it all. And this time I'm going to change the stroke, just to try a different option, to something a lot brighter. And that helps a lot. And then I might change or add a drop shadow to it. And just like I did with the black line on the skull, I'm going to make my drop shadow a white. And I'm going to spread it out. To help set this off a little, I'll take its opacity and make it stronger. Maybe not 100%, but and I can, in that way, kind of set the type off of the background. Let the computer catch up here. Layer styles are great, but they do take quite a bit of processing. And now we see that that really kind of sets itself up. So that's done in 2 layers. There's this layer underneath, and then this layer on top. And I can even offset them a little bit. I can take this top layer, just use the move tool, and push it up and to the left a tiny bit. And so you'll see little hints of the blue color coming around. You know, and just give it a little bit more complexity. That's called offsetting. All right. Now that we have this color solution, now I want to think about the background a little bit more. So, in this gray background, it's pretty boring. Let me see what a darker background would look like with the black. And it depends on your kind of poster needs and its sensibility. Maybe just a flat background is fine. But I think I want something a little more old-timey looking. I'm going to fill in the entire background with just white, because maybe we'll want a border around our poster as well. And so that's where we start. We have our type, it's colored, it's placed as a vector, and now we start thinking about background colors. And the next mini tutorial, I'll talk about texturing the background paper, and we'll play with some color solutions to push this even further. All right, so I need to save my progress. With all those layer effects, it can take quite a while to save, but all of that will be here in our PSD file when we come back.